Right, guys, welcome to episode 3 of the Mind Gains podcast. Today's guest is a guy who I've known for quite, I'd say a couple of years now, a few years. I've had him on social media for a few years. He's been a client of mine for a couple as well. But truth be told, besides the fact that he's my client, I know absolutely nothing about him. And that guy is Mr. Rob Witter. Rob, thank you for taking the time to come on today.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure.
How are you feeling about your first proper podcast experience? I know we did that one with Chris like the couple of months ago, but that was just about your prep, wasn't it? So
yeah,
how are you feeling?
Well, I like long conversation. I think I've always with my mates at home and stuff like that, we always go to the pub. We prefer the pub compared to the club because it's you can have a good long-winded conversation and delve deep into topics. So I've been looking forward to getting on, man.
Bit of an old man. It's like a good natter.
Well, I'm an old man at heart, but no, I am.
No, so like I said just then, mate. Like it's weird. Like I try and get through to my guests. I'm like, this episode is about you. Yeah. It's not about me. Like this is like the Rob Witter episode. It's not the Jamie Clarke featuring Rob Witter. It's the Rob Witter episode. So as I said then at the beginning of the episode, like lad, I've coached you for 2 years. I've helped you navigate through some tough waters. You've done some amazing things. Yeah. But lad, I know fuck all about you.
I know.
I know fuck all. Yeah. Like I've known you 2 years.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you many things besides the fact you're a coach, things like that. So like,
there's not many people who know a lot.
Well, the whole world's about to know now, lad, because you're on the podcast with me.
It's quite exciting, but I think at the same time it's hard to open myself up because I never really do. Do you know what I mean? I think there's only a few people, and there's probably some things on this that even my girlfriend Sonia doesn't know and stuff like that. So I'm like my dad. I'm a very quiet, preserved person, and I know when to talk about myself. But I think in general, I like to keep. I don't like to keep. I just naturally am quite secluded, is that the right word?
I get what you're saying.
Not self-centered, but I keep myself to myself. So
all that's going to change today. We're getting it all out here today, mate. So as I just said, bro, well, obviously my first episode went down. I still can't believe how well it went, how many people listened to it. Yeah. And one bit of feedback I got from a lot of people was, you don't realise how much this has helped me. You don't realise how much this has opened my eyes, how many people it's going to help. And like I said to you before the podcast, just to kind of get you up to speed about what we were going to do and how we were going to navigate through this today. That the idea is that there's a young Rob Witter somewhere. There's the next Rob Witter that's watching and listening to this today that was in your position 2 or 3 years ago. And they're going to listen to this and then he'll go, well, fuck me, he's done it, which means I can do it. So let's not waste any time, mate. Like, let's get straight into getting to know you. Just start your story as much. Listen, if it was up to me, I'd have you delving and diving as deeply as possible into your story. I want it to be authentic. I want it to be as relatable as possible. Yeah. So the earliest and deepest you're willing to start from, bro, let us know.
I think one of the main reasons I've been looking forward to getting on is obviously after listening to what you had to say and stuff like that. I think we've come from very different ends of the spectrum. I think obviously you know where you've come from, but I think I've had a very my upbringing, and I've had a nuclear family. Everybody's been together, and I've lived in a really nice area. My parents have worked extremely hard to give us the life that and make me who the person I am today. So, but we've grown up in a very, very privileged place and privileged environment. So I think we come from different ends of the spectrum. But I think it's difficult sometimes to accept. Like if you do come from a privileged background, you feel like you can't really struggle. Do you know what I mean? Because when you listen to people and people's stories where they have been through real, real hardship, you almost sometimes I'm guilty for just saying, just get on with it. This person's been through this, so you can't feel like that because they've been through that. Yeah. So I'm very guilty for that, but I feel like a lot of people are as well. I think obviously it's all of the mental health stuff. I think if you keep batting yourself down, no matter how privileged you are, you could come from $1 million houses, flashy cars and everything. But if you don't feel right, then things aren't right. You know what I mean? And you should be able to accept accept your emotions. So I think obviously stuff has happened to me in the past, obviously, that is nowhere near the extremities of what other people have been through. But I think it's all developed me into who I am and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think obviously I just wanted to speak to people who might not be down right in the dumps, but also, you know, feel guilty within themselves if they do, you know, if they do kick themselves in the teeth sometimes. So, but I mean, you know, I was growing up, I think it all, I mean, obviously I was mainly brought up by my nan and granddad. I mean, I owe a lot to my mum and dad. Everybody says I'm the carbon copy of my dad. I love him to pieces, so we're exactly the same. But I was primarily brought up with me nan and granddad because my mum and dad were working until all hours. So you know, very privileged, like I said, got fed really well, just got brought up extremely well, and I think we were kind of in our own little world. You know, just the typical lad. You know, you'd grow up and you'd have the superhero comics and stuff like that. And I think one thing that definitely related to me was Marvel, and I think that was their job. That's the point of the comics and stuff, isn't it? Is that they're meant to connect to you. So when growing up, you know, you're a little kid and you're like, oh, I read this, and so you try and act like them, and they'd mold you into the person. And I think like, but by doing that, I'm from where I am, where I came from, and stuff like that, and the way I was brought up, I was quite like secluded from the real world. If that makes sense, because I think, you know, I came from a place where nothing really bad ever happened. You know, we didn't really ever go through any like family struggle, if that makes sense. Because I mean, or if we did, I didn't know about it because my mum and dad were just who they were.
Obviously, it's great that you've had such a great life, mate. Like my end goal through all of this, I've said it to many people. My end goal, although it's not financial, it's to make sure my kids, even though they're not here yet, Jade, obviously my girlfriend, and then if we get married and things like that, it's to make sure my whole family's provided for. Yeah. And like, I'm not saying that you've kind of, like when you said there, I don't want to really speak to people who are really down in the dumps. Like, I don't think, mate, you can have the best upbringing in the world. Yeah. Things can still be hard. Yeah. The hardships are completely different. Do you know what I mean? So what have your main struggles been? Because I know you've had struggles. Do you know what I mean? So obviously you've said there, like, well, I had this and this was great. Mum and dad, nuclear family, close to my nan, close to my granddad. Yeah. All those are really positive. Yeah. But you came to me 2 years ago in a position that you was low on confidence, a position when you wasn't happy. And I don't want to fast forward to 2 years ago, but there's clearly, you've had your own, I don't want to say issues, do you know what I mean? Yeah. But do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you've clearly had your own problems where you've had to conquer them. Because regardless of where you've come from, everybody's got problems. No one's problem free, mate. Everyone's got them, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So obviously it's brilliant to hear you've had a great life, mate, and a great support system. And that's one thing I'm sure we can all agree is like an end goal for all of us that the family's provided for, and obviously your kids and everything like that. But like, where did your struggles start? Like when you was a kid, was there anything you struggled with? Like I was a really shy kid. Yeah. I was always like back of the line. I'd never used to speak up. I was shy I was like scared to get things wrong and speak up. Like that side of things, mate, like there's people who are listening to this and they're going to be in that position or they've been in it, whatever. Yeah. So like, what would you say that your main obstacles as Rob Witter, not as your family, as like as you as a person, what are your like what are the barriers you've jumped over to be where you are today? Because obviously we're going to come to it, mate. You're in a fucking great position at the minute. But what barriers have you overcome as a kid, as a young man, to kind of get there? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I think confidence is definitely one thing. I mean, I've always struggled with confidence, I mean, regardless of what position. But I think, you know, I was always that kid at school. I started out, obviously, linking back to what the childhood kind of thing was. I was in my own world, so going to high school was a completely different environment where everybody came from everywhere, and I kind of just slotted in where I knew I wasn't in that position. But then I tried to become something like, because I knew that I could do something with myself, but I always felt like I had somebody to impress, if that makes sense. So I was never really myself at school, and I cocked up quite a few times, and you know,
I was never like a bad kid at school, but I just like tried to be somebody who I wasn't. And
Right.
I think, you know,
Tried to fit in.
yeah, I tried to
Be
fit
something
in.
that you're not.
I tried to fit in, but I tried to make myself known for something, if that makes sense. So
Like have an identity.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think because I mean, obviously, I just growing up and stuff. I found out that I was good at rugby, so I tried. It was weird because I tried to make that my personality. I tried to like be the lad who was good at rugby, and then it was like, or the lad who was in shape. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like I was never really that person because I'm not really a oh look at me kind of guy.
You're quite introverted, aren't you, in a way?
Yeah, but I felt like I had to be that to fit in.
And
so
especially with a lot of lads, touching on what you've just said there, like I know lads who were supposed to play for professional football teams. I know lads that were like signed to Saints and Warrington and everything like that when they were like 17, 18.
Yeah.
And lad, it all collapsed. Do you know what I mean? And that was their whole identity. And obviously those are like completely separate things because it's like you've gone your whole life. Like you've only got to look at like when people get dropped out of academies and stuff. And like when you try and make it your whole identity, if it is your whole identity, then it's heartbreaking. But as you've just said, if you're trying to make it your identity and it's not,
no, see,
it's even worse. Do you know what I mean?
It does.
So how did you? We've all been there. I've tried to be things that I'm not. I've tried to like fake it till you make it, act like I'm the big man in. It's only probably the last 3 years since I've been like 25, 26, 27, 28 that I've just been completely comfortable with being Jamie. Do you know what I mean? And I think once you get that, it's such a sweet moment when you think, I'm enough.
Yeah.
How did you get around that? Like you've mentioned like I tried to make it my identity. A lot of people listening to this, they're lost, mate. Like I know a lot of people who've lost their way, are on the verge of losing their way, or they've lost it and come back. Like, so it'd be really interesting because this is great. This and what you've just said, it's a great bit of like feedback and it's a great bit of value for people. Like, how have you overcome that? Because you've got your own identity, which we'll come to, as I said before. But like, how have you overcome that? Like, what did you do as a kid to like kind of get over that? Or maybe you wasn't a kid, maybe it was last year, who knows? But like, what did you do? Because obviously, mate, I'm getting to know you here as well. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So as deep as you want to get into it, mate, by all means, do so.
The one thing that will always stick with me, I think, is I was in college, and one of the college trips was a trip out to Africa to go and like volunteer. So it was like, you know, building like shelves and building tables and stuff for libraries. And I think that trip, and not to say that you have to go out to Africa to solve your problems, but like I think like that,
everyone's booking flights to Africa now while listening to this podcast.
That trip really humbled me and made me realize that like you're like trying to impress somebody else doesn't fucking matter. And it's like you don't like, you've got to be you've just got to be a good person and who you really are. And there's, you know, no matter what you're doing, you're making a difference regardless of who. Like, you don't have to try and be somebody else to, you know, to own your own personality.
And that's the thing, mate. Like, we can get so caught up in these things that genuinely, mate, like you just said, it doesn't fucking matter.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't matter. Like, you can go through your whole life losing yourself, trying to have an identity that impresses people, trying to afford expensive clothes to impress people, and you're living for other people's means. And then when you go to a place like in Africa, like a third world country, and you sit there and think, they would love to be in fucking my position. Do you know what I mean? And I'm taking all this for granted, all this privilege for granted. Like, a big part of the reason people so unhappy these days, obviously there's like social media and different things, like, but it's that they live to fucking impress other people, mate. It's all likes and views and comments and validation, and if they don't get enough of it, they fucking feel unhappy, don't they? Do you know what I mean?
They do.
So obviously when you went there, like what was when you come back, did you immediately change? Was it a transitional period? Like, what went on there?
I think I remember the time that the day after I came back, and it was crazy because I went away as this lad who was, you know, trying to.
Sorry, how old was you?
I was 17.
17. So this is fairly recent, isn't it? Like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, I was 17 then. I went away as somebody who was, you know, still the lad, the one with the six pack and all this sort of stuff at college, and I was like, I was quiet, but I was a bit like, well, you know. And then I went there and I just came back, and I remember my mum and dad saying, you know, like, what's happened to him? Like, what's happened to him over there? And like, I remember him Like I think I just did something stupid for them, like make them a cup of tea and take it out to them, and they were like, never done this before, like what's going on? But I didn't even it didn't occur to me that I was doing something different. I just did it.
Yeah.
And it was like it's almost like I just appreciated a lot more and
Appreciate life a lot more.
Yeah, and who I was around and you know, my situation in general. But I think that in particular trip was the building block to what I'm doing now, because I think I'm the same person, I'm the same, you know, the same guy who says hello to people when they go past them in the street and stuff like that. I'm still that same person, but that individual trip like started that off for me.
Would you say that was like the beginning of Rob
Yeah,
Witter?
that was throwing the immature knob out the window and kind of like becoming...
I during the first episode, which obviously was just me opening up about all my hardships and stuff, I always say the making of Jamie was like when I was 20.
Yeah.
And when I obviously all the really hard things started happening at home, and but I started learning who I was and my mental toughness and all these different things. And obviously, like I think everybody, maybe not everybody, it'd be interesting to kind of, this is why podcasts are like a beautiful thing to do, because you get to know people's stories. But there seems to be a catalyst in everyone's life where it's just right, that's me now.
That's it. Yeah.
Or you discover, or you rediscover, or like you say, you throw in the old, like immature, like Rob away. And obviously that was recently. It was like 5 or 6 years ago. Do you know what I mean? A lot can change in 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of young, impressionable kids these days.
Yeah.
We've got TikTok. There's so much like short form content out there that kids just digest, mate, which is it can be so unhealthy depending on what they view. And obviously 17 to like 22. Well, your age. How old are you? 23?
22. Yeah.
22. So like 17 to like your age, it's quite an impressionable age. Like your friendship circle matters. What you consume matters. Like they're quite impressionable years, really. You're still kind of growing up. So it's what kind of advice would you give? Because as I said before, like the next Rob Witter could be watching this. Someone could be sat there like hooked on every word you're saying here. Like, what would you say to them? Like, what would you say to pre-Africa trip Rob? What would you go? What if you could sit down now opposite him like me and you are? Yeah. What's the conversation you'd have? Big question, mate.
It just sounds a bit. It sounds cliche, the first part of this, but I think it's literally just stay true to yourself and work on yourself. Yeah. Don't work on what other people's opinions are, and just. I think I was guilty for consuming a lot of stuff, which is why, I'm sure we'll get onto it, but why I put all this, like why I put all my weight on in the past. It's because I was consumed and, this, instead of picking, just trusting what I was doing myself and what I knew I could do. But I was like, well, this might be a better thing, this might be better. Well, this guy said this. Instead of actually listening to myself, staying true to myself, but also like seeking, I don't know how to put it, because I think I've just said then that staying true to yourself, but like I think you have to pick some, like if I was going to say to my old self, stop consuming so much online and just pick a source of information and stick to it. So whether or not that's a coach or a life advisor or whatever, like don't go grabbing things from everywhere, just pick one thing and learn that.
So is that for like personal development, or is it for mental health, or
for everything, like just
for every aspect of life?
Yeah, so just pick something that you're true, like you connect with and is for you. So obviously, I know you told me not to talk about you very much, but I think I came to you and I listened to you, and it's like I don't care what this guy says. Yeah. I don't care what my idol says. It's like I listen to you. Yeah. Because I trust you, and you have helped me a lot more than what I could ever even imagine. I could, mentally, physically, spiritually. It's like everything. So I think you've got to stop consuming so much. Pick somebody or pick something that you trust, and just stay true to yourself. And with that advice, and just build over time. Yeah, and don't try and run before you can walk. Firstly, mate, like it's obviously I did say before, like we don't want to speak about me too much, but obviously it was always going to come on to me and you. But I really appreciate hearing all that, mate. Like, it still baffles me, like, how people talk that about me. Yeah. Because I suffer, like, with
a bit of imposter syndrome. I was talking to my girlfriend about it yesterday, and the fact that someone can sit opposite me and go, "You've like obviously helped change my life," it's mental. So firstly, mate, thank you. Like it genuinely means a lot. But like, I think it is so important, like, to have the right people around you. Of course, it is, like, having the right circle of friends, the ones who are going to push you and not pull you down, the ones who clap for your success rather than like slagging you off behind your back. Like obviously absorbing and taking on the right kinds of information, because there's a lot of like malinformation out there. Like, I've been stung with it as a kid. You've been stung with it as a kid. Like you just running around kind of like going, oh, well, I've heard this and I've heard this and I've heard this, and you're kind of applying a lot of nothing. You're not really nailing something down. Do you know what I mean? Like, you aren't staying consistent with anything.
No.
You're staying consistent with the art of doing nothing. You're doing a lot of nothing. So whether it's like for mental health, whether it's like seeking therapy, whether it's like obviously going out your way to get better physically, whatever it is, like it like obviously consistency is a huge part of it. And I think that is one key piece of advice that people need to hear, because we all know a person, and every time you speak to him, it's like, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, doing this, and they just end up in the same place and they don't do anything. And it's sad, really, because I think, like you said, trust is a big one. Finding someone who you trust, finding information that you trust, going along with that, that's obviously a great bit of advice. But it's crazy how much, like, as a young person you can, because it, not to like completely like divert away from this topic of conversation, but like young kids these days, mate, I fucking worry for them, genuinely. Like, I think obviously me and Chris are around the same age, so we were kind of just on the cusp of pre and post internet, like where it come into your life but it wasn't your whole life. Whereas like kids now, everything is TikTok, Instagram, everything's online. It's the gospel, everything's online. Do you know what I mean? So I think that is like such a good bit of advice, is just to kind of seek out something that you trust. If it works for you and you enjoy it, like you say, whether it's for your mental health, whether it's for your physical development, your personal development, with a job, with a relationship, whatever it is, stick with it. And if it works and it's sustainable.
I mean, it's like what you just said from TikTok and stuff as well. I think if I was to say anything to like a young lad, I mean, I say it. No, I think I said it. Who did I say it to? It might have even been my brother. But I think obviously you're scrolling through TikTok, and I'm a person who will delve into something. So it's like I can't just sit there and scroll through 100 videos an hour.
No.
I'll probably get through about maybe 5 videos, like from 5 different people in maybe 2 hours. Because I'll scroll through and I'll listen to what someone's saying, and then I'll go onto the page and I'll be like, you know, he said this as well, and he said this. I mean, obviously you see so much like in a day, like you're consuming so much, and it's like it can confuse you, but without even you realizing it's confusing you. But if you actually like stop scrolling so much and invest in something, and like I think because especially marketing like now, which is why the TikTok stuff and everything, it's like they play on your emotions, like to grab hold of you, and it's like, but you kind of got to realize that, and then you've got to go and investigate what they're actually talking about and who they are. So instead of just listening to what one video of them is saying, go onto their page, which is exactly what I did with you, and exactly what some of the people I'm working with have done with me. It's like you have to go and find out who somebody is before you consume that information.
Of course.
And from doing that one simple thing, by actually just investing like 5 minutes just to go through and actually understand what this person is and where they come from, and you know what they're actually talking about, instead of just, oh well, he said this, and next video, and then somebody says something else. It's like developing your knowledge and your understanding of why that is, and you know who's that coming from, and you know who is that person, do I like that person? And then you never know, you might find an absolute gem, like I did with you. Scroll past you one day, saw one of your pictures or one of your IGTVs or whatever it was.
So before, do you know what, mate? Sorry to interrupt you. Before we delve into that, right? Because we're going to end up just like completely jumping past, like, because where was you up to? You're about 17.
Yeah, I did.
Because before you know it, we're going to like get to the end of this fucking journey, and we've.
This is what I'm talking about with the conversation.
We've jumped from 17 to today, and we've missed everything out in between. And that's, although I want you to kind of tell your story. Well, I don't want to I want you to fucking spill the beans, say everything. But I think a huge pivotal moment in your life was obviously like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah, it was.
So do you mind just kind of jumping
Yeah,
into
yeah.
that?
Well, I'll obviously, like I said, the trip out to Africa was the first building
Yeah.
block of that, and I think that trip made me work hard. I think I developed my work ethic from that trip. It made me realize, right, I've got to go out and do this. You know,
Yeah.
obviously be kind to everybody. You know, but just be myself and go and work hard. And obviously that work ethic kind of got a bit obsessive with me. I think
Yeah.
I kind of fell into the trap of doing too much, like we were just talking about, like just trying to find sneak ways and lacking the consistency side of things. So obviously I was, I became like obsessive with obviously I came back from Ghana, did really well at college, I did fine at uni, but then I kind of just became obsessive with, for example, I got into like a bulking phase because I thought, right, I'm going to work hard now and get myself in really good shape. And I consumed so much, and I was, doing this, but then seeing this trick, and then seeing that trick, and not having any consistency.
Yeah, just
But
like
the
trying
work,
to like,
but
yeah,
the
as you
work
said
ethic was
before.
there. So I mean, like the work ethic was there. So I thought I was doing it really well, and I was like, oh yeah, look good here, but I didn't. But because I was working so hard, it's like my mind refused to let me.
Yeah, there's like a difference between working hard and working smart, isn't there?
Yeah,
Like
I wasn't working smart. I was
there's
just
obviously a complete difference, and obviously from a client, just touching on this from a coach's point of view, I love that rawness of a client that has got like hard work.
Yeah.
Because all I've got to do is just go, right, mate, just go that way.
Yeah.
That's it. Like if you're willing to walk the path, I'm willing to show you. Do you know what I mean? So obviously, as you said there, you've took a few years. You come back from Africa. You've had a big, not I don't want to say epiphany, like, but you know what I mean. You've woke up to what really matters.
Yeah.
And obviously, a few years later, me and you ended up working together.
Yeah.
So, although obviously we've said we kind of want to get to know your side of things in terms of personal life and stuff, this is kind of the bit that I want to speak about. But I don't want to speak about, obviously me and you were going to come up working together, but I kind of want to know where you was at. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we started working together early 2021.
Yeah, we did, January.
And when did you first start, like, when would you say you first started bulking?
I first started bulking back in 2019.
So you was going for like a year, 2 years?
Yeah,
pretty much.
I put on a lot of weight in that
Mate,
time.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there. It's well documented. It's on my Instagram. It's on TikTok, YouTube, everything.
Yeah.
They're like, I was bang out of shape in lockdown. Probably very similar to what you did.
Yeah.
Where like I just thought, right, need to get big, need to eat, need to train. That's it.
Yeah.
And you convince, again, very similar to you, where it was like, I'm eating loads, I'm lifting loads, I'll get big. Yeah. And you won't be told otherwise because you think in your head you're doing the right thing. Yeah. And mine, again, was coming from listening to the wrong advice. Yeah. Listening to 2 or 3 people who, at the time, I thought I could trust their judgment, and I just really couldn't. Do you know what I mean? But at the time, I thought I could, because obviously you trust them. So, where were you mentally? Mm-hmm. Do you know, not saying like when you fucking jumped on the phone with me, but there's months building up to that. Yeah. There's the thinking like, oh, I'm doing well. There's the, oh, hang on, shit, I'm actually doing well. Yeah. And then you have that moment where you're like, shit, I've done this wrong. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I want you to kind of take me through that as deeply as possible. Yeah. Like, mentally, where were you? Like, where is your health? What everything? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So like, where would you say, I'm going to say out of hand. Where did it get out of hand? But obviously that sounds like it was a fucking epidemic. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But for lack of a better term here, when you was out of shape, where would you say it started getting out of hand? Like, where would you say, like, you just put way too much fat on, did things wrong, felt unhealthy mentally and physically? Where would you say that was?
I just didn't really see, like, a way forward, because obviously lockdowns came around, stuff like that. And as you know, at the time, I was working in a news agents, getting up at like 4 a.m. and I was trying to manage a relationship and, be there for my girlfriend. It was like early days at the time, so me going to bed at 9 p.m. wasn't in my best interest. So I was really lacking on sleep. Obviously, lockdown came around, so there was not really much hope. I was kind of just getting up to go to the news agents to come back. Yeah. all university was online, so I just wasn't leaving the house, and I just was just mentally just down, like, because I didn't see anywhere, because I was just a bit like, well, I'm doing this for uni, but what am I going to do for a job when I leave? And I didn't see like a way forward. So the gym was like my savior, and obviously that got taken away from us, and it was like, right, so me and my brother set up an area in the back garden to do, a couple of like sets with them.
So when you say you don't see a way forward, that sounds quite harrowing.
Yeah,
like
it was.
Don't see a way forward.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It just didn't.
Like you just went, I didn't see a way forward, and I just skip past it. But what does that mean? Did you sit at home and think, like, fucking hell, I hate my life, what's going on? Like, where was it? Like, when you say I didn't see a way forward, can you dive into that for me, please? What does that mean?
It's just in a sense of everything. It's like uni. I was like, you work so hard, and it's like, well, what is this gonna get me? Like, I was like, I'm doing all this. Yeah, I was doing all this, and it's just a piece of paper. Like, what am I doing this for? Stressing sleepless nights, all this about uni, and then, I was getting up to go to a job that was paying me buttons, and like it was pennies, like, and I was a bit like, well, we might be able to go to the cinema this. You know what I mean? Like, it was a bit like, well, I'm working so hard at uni, I'm working so hard, and it's like I wasn't getting anything. I wasn't doing it, like, because I was doing everything, but like I just wasn't progressing, and it's like climbing a wall with nothing to cling onto, because it's just like you're trying to climb it, but like you're not going anywhere mentally. Yeah, and it's a bit like, well, it's so hard, because it's like you want to carry on because that's who I am, but you don't see a point in carrying on. Yeah, and it's nothing. I didn't like. Obviously, I don't want to sound like, but
mate, be as deep as you want here. People want to, like, obviously relate to what you're saying. Yeah. So don't hold back here. Whatever you felt, mate, say it. Yeah,
but it's like I had so many things to juggle, and me not being in a progressive mindset, because I was like, well, what's the freaking point in this? I just thought, right, well, I just let everything go. Yeah. And then that's kind of what happened. It's kind of like, luckily I managed to maintain the relationship, which, I don't know how we did that, to be honest, but we did it. And
to be fair, she's a belter, Sonia.
She is amazing.
You've got a great girl there.
Love my life. But I
thought I was the lovely life, but
you are. She's my side piece. You're my little one. But she hung on for me. Obviously, my brother was there for me and stuff like that, and helped me through it as well, and just like kept pushing through. And I don't think, like, my brother doesn't realise how much of an impact he has, but he does. He's
a good lad, isn't he, Chris?
He's the one who's always been there by the side of me. So I owe a lot to Chris, but I think I just didn't really see a way forward with everything. Yeah. And I think obviously that's when I started putting on quite a bit of weight, because I was lifting in the garden, but then I was like in the dumps, especially when the sun went down. I was a bit like, well, freaking hell. And that's when, you'd start eating a lot more, and it'd just be like, well, what's the point, because I'm not getting anything anyway from it. And it's like I did try to do things. It's obviously, I made my fitness account at the time to document my progress, and the progress that I thought I was making at the time, to try and hold me accountable. But I think at the same time, it was just a bit like,
but it does hold you accountable, doesn't it?
Yeah. It does now. It does now. When I think of it,
probably did at the time, mate. Yeah. You're probably being very harsh on yourself here, really. But like, you were trying there. Do you know what I mean? And it makes you conscious of, I've got to upload this, and I'm going to have to go and do this and things like that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you then. I just wanted to give you a bit of credit. That was all.
Yeah. But it does. I mean, I did try with that, and I think obviously you work yourself up so much, and then forget to do the basics. Yeah. I think that's the main thing. It's like I was working myself up so much that sometimes I was just lying in bed until 1 p.m. and it was like I was missing my breakfast, and it's like, well, this is counterproductive. Yeah. But I didn't think that at the time. It's only now when I sit back and I think, what the hell was I doing that for? It's like, but at the time, because you're so swamped and everything, you kind of like just want to throw in the towel. Yeah. But it's important that you don't. But I think it's like you want to throw the towel in. And how can I explain it? It's like you just got to keep you've just got to keep going. And I think doing something is better than doing nothing.
Yeah,
so you've
definitely.
got just doing the simple shit, like just get up and have something to eat.
People don't realize this. Like, for example, this morning I was up at 5 a.m. And then, like I said to you on the way in, I was like, my day's been like clockwork.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And people don't understand the severity of just doing the basics, right?
Yeah.
People don't understand the severity of a basic productive routine.
Yeah.
Like, if you're listening to this, and as Rob's just been saying, like, Rob was obviously in a very difficult place a few years ago, which we're going to get into more now. But, like, if you were sitting in bed till 11, 12 in the early, like in the morning, in the early afternoon, and you go into a job you fucking hate, and you're consuming shit food, and you're not doing anything for yourself, and you're losing yourself, like, because you fucking don't like the way you look, you don't like the way you feel, like, you're working a job you can't stand. Like, start doing shit that just is going to help. Like, get up earlier, like, read a few pages of a book, like, get yourself into a routine, shower nice and early, make yourself feel good. Do you know what I mean?
One thing that I was really guilty for was, like I said, with the hard work aspect, I'd nail it. So say if I wanted to read a book, for an example, let's say, I'd read the book and I'd get it done all in one go. And I'd be like, read that book now, but 8 hours has gone.
Yeah.
But like now, it's like I'll do this for an hour, do this for half an hour, eat, do this for an hour, do this for an hour, eat. And it's just like you said, clockwork. But by the time that you look back, yeah, you might have taken another week to read that book, but at the same time, you've progressed in 5, 6, 7 other areas of your life. And it's like it's that working hard and working smart aspect that we
comes back to that.
Before. And it's like the basics of just making time for yourself and scheduling your time. And
definitely,
that doesn't make you a robot. That just makes you more efficient as a person.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
of course, and obviously, a lot of people struggled through the lockdowns, mate. They definitely did. So I know a lot of people will be listening to this and they'll be relating to it. And do you know what, mate? A lot of people will have struggled during the lockdowns. They still won't have recovered like 3 years later. Do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people took it hard during those lockdowns, whether it was like financially and the business went under, or they lost their health or whatever. A lot of people struggled. So I think people listening to this knowing, shit, someone else had it wrong, or not wrong, but someone else had it hard at that moment in time, will obviously would be nice for them to listen to, be comforting. Not only that, but the next part of it would be great to listen to, because you've got yourself in a fucking great place, mate, like 2 years later, 3 years later. So obviously lockdown, we were kind of like mid-2020 there, weren't we?
Yeah.
And I noticed you started liking my stuff like toward the back end of 2020 and stuff. And like, what happened there? Because I think one big thing for me, and people listening to this is a bit of advice you need to take on board if you aren't happy with yourself. A lot of the time, it's accepting that you need help.
Yeah.
It's accepting it, whether it's you're an alcoholic, whether you're an addict, whether you're fucking unhealthy, whether you don't, whatever it is, there's someone there to help you. Yeah. But you being in denial about it isn't going to fucking help. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to ask yourself the hard questions. You've got to hold yourself accountable, because otherwise you just keep spinning yourself. You could just keep spinning this yarn. You just keep fucking lying to yourself. Do you know what I mean?
You do.
So what did that conversation with yourself look like? Like when you was like, shit, I need help. And I know you started looking, and it wasn't just, he's the guy with me.
Yeah.
Like, you was looking at a few people, not too interested in that at the moment. What was the conversation you had with yourself that went, it was kind of like, fuck me, Rob, you need to be better here?
Yeah.
Like, what was it? How did that look?
Well, I think I was living at uni at the time, in a house at uni, and obviously Sonia was with me. And obviously I thought I was always on top of myself. Like, I was ignorant into the fact that I thought I knew everything. So I would be like, right, this is working. And I remember there was the house, you walk through the living room and then you go through like a little hallway to get to the kitchen. And on the left-hand side, there was two bathrooms. And the door was open in the first bathroom one time, and directly as you walk through that door, there was a mirror. And the light was off, and I walked past it. I was in my tank top or whatever. And I walked past it, and I just caught myself there. And I stepped back, I was like, right, nah, that's the lighting. I walked past it, I was like, that's the lighting, that.
Mate,
no.
how horrible was that feeling? I've been there.
Honestly, though.
Where you're like, that's not me.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. I've been there.
But it's not a fact of like, well, we're laughing now, but like, I stepped back on my art sunk and I was like, that's the light in that.
Yeah.
Put the light on, and I just stood there and I was like, I forgot what I was going into the kitchen for, turned around and went and put a hoodie on. I went back into the room in front of Sonia, had nothing to say, just like, you know, and I put a hoodie on and I just went into the kitchen. I got upset, and Sonia doesn't know, but I got upset and I was like, fucking hell, do you know what I mean? Like, coming from rugby background, karate, MMA, you just jawline, nice, just a good physique kid.
Yeah.
Because I've worked hard for it, but then I just completely just let myself go.
And
I
lost all of it.
Yeah, but then I looked at myself and I was like, I mean, you look at yourself every day and it's like, yeah. But then I was looking on my camera and I was like, I went through some old photos.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's not me, that. You know what I mean? But like, it took me back and I was just a bit like, yeah, this isn't funny now. Like, obviously I'd been doing this and doing this and doing this, thinking I was getting better and better. I remember being at Exercise for Less when it was there. And I thought I was big lad. I was like, come on, like taking videos of myself in the mirror, like loving myself for what I was doing because I thought I was doing really well. But then at that moment, it caught me. And it was weird because I'd seen myself every single day. But that certain angle in that minute, I just thought, right, no, this is where things need to start changing because I can't keep doing that.
Yeah.
And then after that little thing started creeping up on me, like, God, I'm walking around the Trafford Centre, my back's just getting pumped after 5 minutes of walking. Like, this isn't right. But then I'd always done it. Like, it was for the months before, it was just like who I was.
Yeah.
But then after that moment in the bathroom, I started picking up on things then. And I was like, right, I'm out of breath again here. Oh, I'm doing this now.
Out of breath going upstairs and tying your shoes
like,
and stuff.
Yeah,
mate, I've fucking been there. It's miserable.
I mean, it sounds really silly, but like shin splints and everything. Like, I just started picking up on it. And I was like, right, because I was so ignorant into believing that I knew exactly what I was doing. And yeah, I know my stuff, but I think sometimes you just have to step back and, you know, the best coaches have coaches. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to lie to yourself and think, I know this because I'm so good at this, so I don't need anybody. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because it's like I said, I know my shit. I'm on top of my game, but like, I needed help. Yeah. And I was so ignorant into thinking I didn't because I knew what I was doing. That's when it kind of like sunk in. Yeah, I need to sort myself out here. So
yeah. So I don't really want to go into the whole why you chose me.
Yeah.
Because I don't want this to be the fucking, as I said before, I don't want it to be the fucking Jamie Clarke podcast featuring you. I want it to be all about your story. So long story short, me and you started working together in the January of 2021.
Yeah.
Absolutely fucking smashed it for the first like 6-7 months.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, absolutely nailed it.
Smashed it for 6-7 months. I think we went down from £239.
£239, yeah.
So Rob started out with me at £239, dropped down to, I want to say, 187.
187, yeah.
So we're looking at about 3 stone 10, around that number, just under 4 stone, which was a tremendous achievement. But then, mate, it all went back on.
It did.
Within 4 or 5 months.
It did.
And this is something I've never spoke to you about. And this is something I'm very, very interested in, mate. And I'm going to share something with you today that I've never said to you before. And of all time, I didn't plan this, by the way. It's just popped into my head.
Yeah.
I remember seeing you after my competition outside Tesco, which you'll remember. Mm-hmm. And I was genuinely concerned. Like, I was like, what has happened here? Do you know what I mean? I didn't say anything to you because I thought maybe he's happy. Everyone has different sorts of happiness. Who knows? It wasn't for me to judge. I remember sitting there thinking, he looks like, not looks as in physically, but the Rob mentally of 10 months ago, 11 months ago. So when you let it sounds awful that I'm saying it like this, but when you let it all go, right? Which, let's be honest, that's kind of, in as many words, what happened. Lad, what happened? Like, what happened there? Like, because obviously by July, mate, we was down to 187. Yeah. We was like touching the 13 stone mark, basically, from like, what would we have been? We'd have been like fucking, what's that, 15, 17? Like down from like 17 stone nearly, something stupid like that. Touching like nearly 13. Yeah. And what went on? Like, what, those like, because obviously we jumped back on board, spoiler alert, we jumped back on board with each other, obviously last January, so a year ago. Yeah. But those 4 or 5 months after we were together, what went on there? I'm so interested to know what happened.
Yeah, it was financial issues, which is why I stopped in the first place. But I think that moment, it just started to creep up on me again. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of just forgot. I forgot what I was doing. Not forgot like what we achieved and stuff, but like just the basics again. It's like I was struggling financially, and then I just was stressed at uni, and I think I didn't manage stress very well at uni anyway. But I think it all just kind of like bad habits just started to creep in again because I lost the basics side of things. Like we said before, I just stopped doing what I knew was the simple stuff, and I don't know why I did it. It was just weird. It's like I think like a massive thing for me and why we have been so successful working with each other is the accountability side of things.
Yeah.
That's what matters for me, and that's what, like, getting up and checking in, like getting up and being like just dropping a message or something. Like, just knowing that somebody's there. That's what helps. That's what keeps me on track, because I've got so many different things going on in my head. It's like sometimes I just need to have somebody hold me accountable as well.
Yeah.
I think that's why we've been so successful together. But I think that moment where we stopped working together, and I don't know, I just kind of lost all rhythm because I was in such a good rhythm and things were going so well, and this and that and this and that. And don't get me wrong, like the first time it's not even like bad eating habits started, because the way that we dieted down the first time was completely fine. Like, don't get me wrong, it was not any toxic relationship with food. It was not anything like that. So something just fell beneath my feet, and I don't know what happened. Like, well, obviously started snacking on stuff, which, you know, adds up over time, and I just lost the basic rhythm and structure of things, and just it went a bit downhill. So
that's interesting for me, because that was more for like me to hear, because like, but obviously it's like people, it's such a good story, because obviously you fell, came back, came back, so it shows like you faced adversity, and it's a good indicator for people to kind of realize that shit, no matter how many times you can fall, you can get back up each time. So that is interesting to hear, and it was mad. But then what was equally as mad is that you jumped back on board. But this time it was like completely different. And you was like, I'm gonna fucking smoke this.
I remember texting you.
I know. The first, just to fast forward this a bit, because this fucking podcast is gonna be about 5 hours long if we keep just like talking in detail, which is a nice talking in detail, but just to kind of get to like what I'd say is the key topics here. So obviously you jumped back on board with me in the January of last year, 2022. Way back in, I think it was 229. So 10 pound lighter than when we were the year before, but it was still a lot of weight on. You had a shitload of fucking troubles with like your job, with uni. Very, very stressful, mate. So it was very ropey, I'd say, from like January to June, July, around that time.
It was finishing uni. Because like I said, the stress got to me, and, you know, I still was doing things, but I think something I've learned from that. If I had to go and do it again, we would have flown through it. Do you know what I mean? I had to learn from that experience, but I think stress got the better of me at uni, and just lack of sleep and just stuff like that. I don't think it was necessarily really bad eating habits. It was just stress and lack of sleep.
And then bringing this whole thing to a roaring crescendo, August of last year, you turned around to me and was like, mate, I want to do a photo shoot. And I was like, you sure? I'm pretty sure I said to you, you sure? Like, are you sure? It's fucking difficult, mate. Because I'll be completely honest with you, where we'd been slipping for months, at first I was like, I'll be honest, at first I thought, I'm not sure if you can do it. Because you hadn't given me the indication that you can do it. And I was like, I knew you were a good lad. I knew you work hard. Fantastic client. You're like one of my most recognized clients. Like, people talk about you to me in the gym, on social media. Like, people fucking love your transformation, which is why it's so good that they've got you on. But like, I'm not going to say I doubted you. I didn't doubt you. I didn't. I was just skeptical. I was like, I wonder if. Do you know what I mean? Like, mate, what fucking went through your head in August to go, I want to kill myself to look as good as possible for a photo shoot, mate? Like, what was the catalyst there? Like, did you just feel like, I'm fucking had enough? Like, I've had enough of just like tiptoeing, and I want to nail this. Like, what went on there?
I was just sick of my own shit, and I think it's like I said to you, like I know what I can do if I really, I know what I can do if I really put my mind to it.
Yeah.
And it's like having a goal. A goal is so important for me, and it's like I think that's where coming off the diet was a bit scary because I've not said it to you, I've not told you, but like coming off that diet and
it was you a little bit. Was it like you had a bit of a hangover because of the year before?
Yeah,
in case
I was
you
a bit
fucked up again.
I was a bit scared, yeah, because I was a bit like
you were mad, mate. I think there was like a month ago where I was like, Rob, fucking give me a minute. Like I've got a load of work to do, which was nice. It was nice that you were so bothered, but at the same time, I was like, mate, you're in good hands. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But I could tell that you were stressed about it.
Yeah.
But was that why?
It was because I think it's just I didn't like. I know how to do it, but I need that goal. Like I need that.
Yeah.
I need for like.
You need that struggle.
Yeah, like I want to feel like I'm progressing towards something.
Yeah.
So I can't just sit there and be like, yeah, we're just gonna eat this for now. But it's like I've got to know where I'm going.
Yeah.
And it's like it's the same thing with the business that I've started. It's like for so long it was just like, oh, I'll just post this then, I'll just post this then, and I'll just say this. But it's like actually going in and being like, right, every single day, every single hour, I've got to do that. And it's like setting that structure and having that goal and just having something to throw, like go and run after is why, you know, it works so well, and which is why I did what I did with the photo shoot. Because it wasn't just, oh, I'm just going to do this. It was like, I am doing this.
Yeah. So obviously your photo shoot is well documented. I was blowing smoke up your ass for the full 12 weeks. It was without a doubt the most mentally and physically brilliant I've ever seen you. You would probably agree. Yeah, it's probably the 100%. Most mentally and physically brilliant you've ever been. Not to drag on for like going through the 12 weeks, because obviously it's been well documented on social media. If anyone wants to see how amazing it was what Rob did, you could head over to my Instagram. You can head over to Rob's Instagram, which obviously I'll drop into the description as well. And just see what he achieved. We dropped from 229 to, was it about 190? 192. Miles better than the year before, miles more conditioned, way better shape. Just the best you to date, wasn't it? Like I say, physically and mentally. That photo shoot was brilliant, mate. Like, I didn't stop smiling through the whole time. Like, it was one of the happiest memories I've got of being a coach, because I fucking love it. Like, I love seeing people do well, especially the good people do well. So in terms of that shoot, like, where does that rank? Because now we're kind of where we are now, because obviously your shoot was only a couple of months ago. But like, where does that rank?
It was one of the best moments of my life.
Was it?
Yeah, because it felt like true accomplishment.
Yeah. And
I could see it, and I was like,
"You've made this happen."
Yeah, like I remember,
I've done this.
Yeah, even before we went and did the actual photo shoot, I did check-in pictures in the morning, sent them to you, and like I was looking at it and I was thinking, I fucking look good here. Like, this is what I went out to do. You know what I mean? Like it was like, and then I compared them to my first, like the first prep check-in, and I was like, when I was that, I didn't imagine looking that good. Like I didn't realize I was going to look like that.
Yeah, like
that's what I went
way
to
different,
do.
Didn't you?
Yeah, and I was thinking like that is the best version of me.
Yeah,
that anybody's ever seen. And it's like I did have compliments, and it made me feel good. And it was like, this is good. You know what I mean? Like I've done it. People are recognizing it. People are cheering me on, and I felt accomplished because I achieved it. So,
and that's kind of like why I wanted to get you on. Like obviously I want to tell my client stories.
Yeah.
But like, if we're gonna like bring this all the way back, because if people have been listening for however long it's been, like 45 minutes, 50 minutes, whatever it's been, like they might have forgot at the beginning of this, mate. Like, you fucking hated the way you looked. Yeah. Caught yourself the way you looked in the mirror and was like, this is fucking devastating. Like, I hate the way I look. That affects you mentally. Loads of different things. Fast forward to current day. Yeah. You've hit a photo shoot. Mm-hmm. You've just said it's one of the best moments of your life. Big achievement. Mentally in a much better space. Physically in a much better space as well. You've gone on to become an online coach. Mm-hmm. You've got quite a lot of clients already. Yeah. You pump out daily emails. You pump out loads of content, mate. Yeah. Like, you carry yourself not only as a good person, but as a pretty solid businessman these days as well. Yeah. From like one coach looking at another, I always compliment you. Sure. Like to you, I say you're doing well, and I give you little pointers and stuff. Mm-hmm. But like, this is the same guy. So like the guy who fucking hated himself 2 years ago, this is the same guy.
Yeah.
Like the guy who's now helping people look better, feel better. The guy who's now helping the Rob Witters of a few years ago, that's you. Do you know what I mean? So like, what do I say? Like, just to bring all this to like a big close, mate, because it's been a fantastic story and I've loved listening to it and getting to know you better. Like, what would you say here for people who were in that position 2 years ago? Because within 2 years, mate, you've got a better job. Everything we've just mentioned with the photo shoot, you've gone on to launch your own self-employed business. We're sat together today discussing how well you've done. Like, what would you say? What is your advice to people? Do you know what I mean? Like, what advice would you give to people who are still listening to this right now?
Just stop stressing about everything and focus on the small things first.
Yeah.
It's that you can have so many big, it's like you could stop stressing about everything. It's like you might have had a bad day at work, you might have eaten this, you might have eaten that, but just stop stressing and think about it.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that really helped me, which I blabber on about all the time on my social media anyway, is writing it down. Write your shit down. And it's like,
hold yourself accountable.
Yeah. I mean, if I have a crap day or if I have just a day in general, I'll write everything down and then my mind will be blown up, but I'll see 5 things on my sheet of paper. I think, this is 5 things. Why am I stressing so much?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, stop stressing so much and just pick it apart, write down everything, write down your emotions, whatever, and just tweak things. Like, you don't, a problem might feel like a big problem, but if you analyze it and assess it, then little tweaks can really make that situation a lot better.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was stressing so much and I was doing this and I was doing that, when in reality, I just needed to do that and that.
Yeah.
I didn't need to be shoveling all this food down. I didn't need to be, stressing out about everything. I just needed to literally walk a bit more and fucking eat a little bit less.
Yeah.
And just build up over time. And I think holding yourself accountable and stop being so stressed and, about everything all the time. Just take it step by step instead.
And make a start.
And make a start on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to get anywhere by just running around in circles in your own head, are you? So you've got to make a start, and then from that, just build on it and build on it slowly.
So, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on board. Thank you for taking the time to do this today. Like, I think we've fucking been going for how long have we been going, Chris? Nearly an hour. Yeah, like longest podcast so far. There's only been 3, but like you're up there.
I was going to talk.
You're the longest one. Mate, listen, I've appreciated you going into so much detail. But for every young person, not even every young person, every person that is sat listening to this today, you've just heard the story of a young man, 22 years of age, who has turned his life around for the better, now works a job that he loves, done a lot of different things with his physique, with his mental health, took a completely different route in life. And if this guy can do it and all the advice he's just given, and there's no reason as to why you can't as well. So, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you for coming on board.
Yeah, thanks for
and
having
I
me
look
on.
forward to the next lot of fucking mischievous things that we do together, whether it's photo shoots, competitions in the future, whatever it is. But no, thank you very much. Rob Witter, everyone. Thank you for coming on, bro.